Joined on the stage by Bob and Frank. Now, Bob, Frank talked about when he first started working with you, that Donald Curry. Now, you talked about Donald Curry all the time. He's one of your favourite fighters.
Yeah, Donald Curry, it was interesting. He was one of the greatest welterweights ever. When we were developing him, we believed that he was better than Sugar Ray Leonard. And he had problems with his manager, who was a good old boy from Texas, and he didn't fight for a couple of months. He had been active all the time. So we put him in to get him back in the ring with a pretty much no hoper named Lloyd Hannigan from the UK. And whether Curry was distracted or whatever, Hannigan not only beat him, but stopped him, and Curry couldn't come out, as I remember, in one of the late rounds. And so Hannigan won the fight. And Curry was never the same again. Never the same again. We put him in subsequently with Mike McCallum, who knocked him out in 3 rounds. And so the greatest, or we believe, one of the greatest fighters in history to be, ended his career with the Lloyd Hannigan fight. And I remembered that and talked about that because it brings up what will be with Anthony Joshua. Right?
You're convinced about it, aren't you?
I'm convinced that the silliest thing you could do as a boxing man is to put Joshua back in with Andy Ruiz. That makes no sense at all. Get Joshua some fights so he can build his confidence back. After taking the beating that he did, knocked down 4 times by Andy Ruiz, who, trust me, I promoted virtually all of his fights. He's a great, got fast hands, he's a brave guy, can't knock me out, right? And here he had Joshua down 4 times. You've got to take Joshua now and build him back.
Bob, since 1966, when you promoted your first world title fight, have there been many fighters who have tried to knock you out? Because have you upset many? Let's talk like big boys here. Have you upset many over the years, Bob?
Yeah. I mean, when I started out before I got into boxing, I was a prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York. And I headed up the seizure of all the funds in the first Patterson-Liston fight.
Because of Roy Cohn?
Because of Roy Cohn. Bobby didn't like Roy, and Roy was going to do something funny with the money from the fight. So I seized all the money. But then the problem was that nobody could get paid, including Sonny Liston, And Liston had done nothing wrong. All he had done was knock out Patterson. So the Nyland brothers, who were his managers, brought him into my office. And there was Liston just glowering at me. And he finally couldn't take it anymore. And he said, "I want my mother effing money," right? And I looked at him and I said, "Mr. Liston, you're talking to an assistant United States attorney. And if you say one more word, I'm going to get the federal marshals and they'll lock you up." And he went down and quiet. And of course, a few days later, we got him his money. So if Sonny Liston couldn't intimidate me, none of these fighters would have been able to intimidate me.
It's a history lesson every time, Franco. Let's talk about Vegas. When was your first fight? When was the first time you came to Vegas? How different was it?
Well, it's different. It's evolved so much now. It weren't a family and orientated place as it is now. Back in the day, there was no direct flights from the UK. You had to fly into LA or wherever, via New York, whatever way you come in. And it wasn't a destination for hen nights and stag do's. It was a pure gambling town, entertainment town, great entertainment, and obviously a boxing town.
What's it like working with Bob?
It's great. There's always great stories. I like Bob. We go back a long, long while. And he's been an innovator. He's built markets. He's created markets in boxing that didn't exist. He built the Hispanic market over here, and as I say, total innovator. And I don't know where he gets his energy from there. I mean, his energy is unbelievable.
When Frank was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, I flew you up
took me
there,
up there, yeah.
and it was raining, and we were in the same car together.
He said, "You'll love this. You get it." So he's playing, and we jumped on the plane with our wives and went together. It was good fun.
Now, Bob, you've done so much over the years. You've created so many markets over the years, and you've been, as Frank said, an innovator. Now it's the turn of the Gypsy King. Just give us a quick précis of what the plans are in your mind. Where's the Gypsy King in 18 months in Bob Arum's head?
He will not only take over the boxing business, he will be one of the most major sports stars all over the world. In a similar way, not the same, but a similar way that Muhammad Ali became like a sports star, not a boxing star, a sports star and a person for the entire world. Now, you know, the message that Tyson Fury has, other than being a great character, being tremendously articulate, being very bright, and a real showman, he has a message. And the message is how you fight mental health problems, how you escape from depression. And he uses his own story. And he will be a spokesman for something that is so important all over the world. So I envisage, probably less than 18 months, that he will be one of the major sports stars in the world, and he will be a spokesperson for something that really needs a regular person to articulate.
Before I let you go, we had one great fight last December in Los Angeles, Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury. Where are we, even in loose terms, with Wilder Fury 2? You first, Frank.
Well, at the moment, Tyson's made it very clear he wants to get this fight out of the way. He doesn't want to tempt fate. Anything can happen in boxing. You know, Schwarz is not coming over here to lay down. You know, he's going to make a fight of it, and I know he's going to make a fight of it. So get that out of the way, then obviously then we can focus on what we want to do. You know, Deontay Wilder's made it very clear that he wants the rematch. I know that Tyson wants it, but getting down to the nitty-gritty of it, we're getting to that immediately after this fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, all I can talk about is what I'd like to see happen, not necessarily what's going to happen, but I would like to see Tyson have one more fight here, because he's taking the country by storm, and that's important. Because let me tell you, I mean, the British fans per capita are, as far as boxing people, are better than the U.S. fans. There's no question about it. But we have more of them. This is a bigger country, and so if you really want to make a lot of money, you have to do these fights in the United States, particularly a big match like Fury and Wilder. So I'd like Fury to fight one more fight here in the United States, and then do the rematch, which will be absolutely huge within the first 3 months of next year.
And remember, Wilder's fighting himself. He's fighting Ortiz next, so that's where we are. And there's no way.
So it has to be next year.
Yeah, because it won't happen this year, obviously, because Tyson's going to have a fight in the autumn, and he's fighting Ortiz. So get them out of the way, and then let's get it on.
We're looking for dates. You know, we want to make sure that, and we want to make sure that it happens after the Super Bowl, right? Which is the first week in February, and the last week in January. So have it sometime maybe in February or the first week in March. So everybody is looking for locations and buildings and clearing it with the pay-per-view people. So that's really the game plan. You can't go in the United States the last 3 weeks in March because we have the March Madness college basketball, and you don't want to go before the Super Bowl because it's so massive here. But there's that period of about 4 weeks between that, which is perfect.
Thanks very much, fellas.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you very much. Thanks, speak to you later. We're doing Ben's organising it.
Thank you.